born and raised and educated in Poland, and the countries that I have experience with are Germany, as you, and also recently Portugal. This, I would say, I rather saw similarities between Poland and Germany than differences, but I can give you a lot of examples with Portugal. Yeah, people take time. They can just comment on things, on football, they can comment on weather and so on. While I'm in the conversation, I'm like, what are you doing for the living and how do you like it? So I'm like very, to the point. While in Portugal, people just go about their lives very easily. So that is something that I feel different.
There was wine at lunch.
Yeah.
And I firstly got, okay, and the colleagues were...
It was like, a work lunch, right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely no difference.
Do you mean the swear words?
Yeah.
And you see, I'm also a psychologist and I do have expats on my consultations. And I think that this thing with the pressure that you also mentioned earlier, people really feel pressure, like some internal pressure to have everything figured out. Ask yourself, why do you really want to go there? And that is an interesting question because I have a hypothesis that all the expats are moving far from their family and there is a bit of reason in it.
Welcome to the very first episode of the WhereaboutsTales podcast. Today we kick things off with an incredible story. Meet Laura, a spirited Polish expat whose journey has taken her from Germany, where she chased a career opportunity, to Portugal, where she followed her heart. It's a tale of ambition, of love, and the twists and turns of the life abroad. Let's dive into Laura's whereabouts and hear her story. If you want to find Laura, you can click on her socials linked in the video descriptions below. Enjoy! And we are on. Hi Laura again, and thank you so much for doing this. Being an expat myself, I said, okay, maybe it's a good idea to talk to people sharing the same experiences as me. I have some strange stories, I have some funny stories, I have some interesting experiences, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I guess if you want to get funny stories, you just go be an expat and you're gonna get many.
True. Laura, first thing first, tell me something about you. Where are you? Maybe first a bit something about your background.
My background is, in terms of my nationality, I'm Polish. Originally, I was born and raised and educated in Poland, and the countries that I have experience with are Germany, as you, and also recently Portugal. I live in Portugal for a year now, and I'm exploring this country as an expat, which is really a joyful ride, I would say.
Okay, nice. I mean, that we share Germany is nice. I think we'll have a lot in common then. The stories will match a lot. So you had intermediate stations. You didn't left completely. Let's say you're not in the end destination directly coming. You switched to Germany, and then to Portugal. The question is, what sparked your interest to move outside Poland?
First reason was very pragmatic because I started by searching for a better job, and that's how my journey started. And that was the part when I was living in Germany. Actually, I think the more interesting part is why I moved to Portugal after Germany. And this was because I met a guy and I followed my love, and I decided to move for him to the new country. And even the twist of that was that I already had plans coming back to Poland. I was not enjoying my time as an expat. I had really hard time making friends. I felt isolated a lot of time. And my remedy to that was, okay, let me go back to Poland, to where my family is, where my friends are. And in the meantime, the life happens, reality hits, and then you suddenly meet a Portuguese, and you become boyfriend and girlfriend, and then the life goes on. And now I live in Portugal.
Where were you living in Germany?
It was Berlin.
Oh, okay. I'm living southern Germany, so
Uh-huh.
close to
So we don't
Stuttgart.
have the same stories then.
No,
We don't have.
absolutely not. I
No.
just realized that. No, no, no. I would say, based on the information that I got from my colleagues around here, you were in the good part of Germany for an expat life. At least this is the information that I got.
Probably easier because many people in Berlin they speak English, and you have also many more expats to get together with to meet. So yeah, probably it was a bit easier for me than it is for you.
So you chose Germany actually. You chose
It's
Germany
more
initially.
that I chose the job, not the country,
Okay.
because I was applying to many different countries
Mhm.
and seeing like what's coming up, what's showing up, and very nice offer showed up. So I just followed. I tried it.
How was the difference between expectation of Germany and reality of Germany?
I think my expectation, I had many expectations from myself, first of all, that I will be meeting new people, that I will be more sociable, I will be doing sightseeing. Berlin is huge. You have so many museums, parks, galleries, art events, concerts to go and to do. And I think that was my meeting with reality when I realized that I go to work. Afterwards, I can get tired. I need to take care of some basic things like all the administration and paperwork, all the basics like groceries and so on. And I didn't expect that actually things that I took for granted when I was in Poland, now I have to provide all of this for myself, like take care of these basic things.
I have a funny story that I like to share. I want to hear your experience on that. Arrived in Germany in 2015, not being able to speak any kind of word of German. We get to the language afterwards. Um, I went to the bank to open a bank account. I went to somehow, let's say, big office of the bank, so not a let's say not the neighborhood one. I went to a big office. They searched about 35 minutes to, for someone that could speak English,
Okay.
and yeah. After she arrived. It was an amazingly nice lady. She was about 40, between 40 and 50 years old.
Okay.
Um, During the explanation, I was asking stuff. She was answering stuff, and in the middle of the conversation, where she was struggling to say things, she just said, "Oh, fucking high school English."
Exactly. It's like, yeah, people don't need it. I mean, south of Germany, everybody speaks German, so yeah, and it must have been super tough. It's similar to that in Portugal, I would say, that if people know English, it is from the high school. I'm trying all my efforts to speak Portuguese because it is I can already like communicate. It's like very basic words, but I can do that. But also, on the things like the banks and so on, I think I have this a bit of like a tricky, sneaky Polish nature that whatever I can do in a different way, I don't know, fix it in Poland or find an application. Like, for example, I would name a couple of apps that are good because they are German, but everything is in English and you can do things remotely. You don't have to go to the branch of the bank, for example. So this was my way of doing things, like to avoid as much as possible dealing with the German reality, because it's a different culture. I know that Poland and Germany, we are neighbors, right? But it's a different culture still. People behave differently. Also, the language. I mean, right now in the modern world, it's normal that people speak different languages, many languages, and so on. But the reality of a person who comes to to solve some problem, to fix something, and you have to, take this step, be brave enough to communicate, and you don't know the language well. This is a challenge. It's a true challenge.
When you've been, because I know you've been to the process, you had to register, you had to get an address, then you had to get a bank account, so
Yeah.
all the things that I have done as well.
Yeah.
When you went to the town hall, were they able to speak English?
Mm, they understood me. I was speaking
Okay,
English to the gentleman that was fixing my papers, but he replied in German
in
all the
German.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. I know exactly how those things are happening. I think the what people are not understanding when they come inside the country, and it was for me the same ignorance. So they have no connection to the English, to the spoken English, unfortunately. Like we have from the TV, we have it from Eastern Europe. I'm also from Eastern Europe, so I know I always try to find the sneaky things to avoid people contact, also doing doctor's appointment and so on. I absolutely know what you mean.
Yeah.
Um, but first of all, digitalization was nothing before Corona, and I think you had the same experience, right? So the fact that you couldn't pay with a card almost anywhere before Corona.
Yeah, in Berlin also cash is very popular mean of payment. That is true, and it is different than in Poland, because in Poland, even before COVID, there was like almost everywhere people were accepting card payments, and also our public offices are already prepared to handle almost every single thing remotely. Recently, half a year ago, I was opening a self-employment, and everything was done remotely. So yes, it is way different in Germany. It's also, I think, because of the legacy that there is in Germany, and people don't realize that because it's not, you don't see it until you are there.
Exactly. I think that's the best description though. Like everyone can explain it to you, everyone can try to explain you how it works, how it should work, but no, you cannot really understand it until you are there, for sure.
Yes, and we have some surprises as we come from different part of Europe and we move to a different part of Europe. But during my work, I got to meet many friends from India, where they arrive to countries like Germany, and for them it's like a completely different reality. The culture shock is so big that, for example, a simple story from one of my friends, he went to Germany first for work, and then he also took his wife with him. And the wife was so disappointed that there is no housekeeping in the apartment. Like, it is natural in India to have a housekeeping, and in Europe it is not. So things like that.
Okay, this one I didn't know. This was really funny. So it's yeah, cultural differences make the funniest stories. A strange question. When we move and when we find the apartment in Germany, for me was a shock. Again, a cultural shock that the apartment was not furnished. Did you have the same in Berlin or?
I got lucky. I got so extremely lucky because I found this job, I landed it, and I told to a colleague from the current work, hey, I will be moving out and I will be going to Berlin. And then she's like, Berlin, do you have an apartment? Because my cousin has an apartment for rent. And I'm like, oh my God, give me the number. So I was not searching. Only later I found out how complicated is this process, that there are castings, that people are lining up to get the place actually.
So it's in my area is not so bad as Berlin is for sure, but still the level of information that they request from you before getting a rental,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. In the country which is always saying that the Datenschutz, like the level of secrecy is high, when you go and get an apartment, they need your working contract, they need to make sure that you stay at least 2 or 3 years. I will never forget, I went to a guy and said, yeah, the previous renter was here 28 years. So if you want to stay 3 years, I don't care. You can leave now. I was okay. then let's go.
God.
Yeah, so you missed a lot in a bad way, let's say like this, or in a funny way, by not being needed to search for an apartment. Um, Laura, I want to move back a bit. What was the reaction of the family when you decided?
It was usually how the dynamics is in my family. My mom is always the one who is more brave and pushing me to do more and explore. So she was more of a cheerleader, and even she helped me move. So for the first few days, she was with me, and we were organizing the place and cleaning it up and everything. My dad is always a bit more skeptic. I think he knew that he will be missing me a lot, that I will not be visiting so often anymore, that it will be like that the distance will be really like visible. But also he was like in a way saying that you know what you're doing, it is your decision. I support you if you want to try it out. Uh, I think it was also a kind of a nice first experience for me and my family because before I lived in Warsaw, there is even a direct train that it takes 6 hours to just get on the train and go from Warsaw to Berlin. So it was far, but you even in between cities in Poland, sometimes you have a distance like that. So I think as a first experience, it was quite bearable. I think that they got more worried when I told them that I am moving to Portugal, and this is a 4 hours flight. It's like other side of Europe, and then they were more worried about that.
Were they still that open when you told them about Portugal?
They were, but the key to that was that they really like my fiance. They really like him.
Okay, so you played smart. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
say you played smart. You went and say, okay, he's the reason why.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm always joking that the reason why I moved to Portugal is for the ocean and for pastel de nata. You know what pastel de nata is?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it is a
Absolutely.
joke, of course, because
Of course, I know.
those are not the
Um,
reasons.
so let's say it like this: the first country somehow you didn't choose, also because you chose it based on the job, and the second country chose you more than you chose the country itself. Um, how was this landing experience as a difference between Germany and Portugal, Laura?
Um, in Germany, it was way more about being independent and self-sufficient and being able to rely on myself. And I think I got way more tough after living in Germany because I needed to find my ways in the new environments and I needed to do all by myself because also at the time when I moved for the work, I really had no friends, no family, and no boyfriend in Germany. So I was all by myself. While in Portugal, the situation was way different because it was my boyfriend who was taking care of almost everything. So I had really nice experience in just, being able to do everything in my pace. For example, with learning the language, there was no pressure that I have to start speaking because he was always there. He's always there to support me.
Did you f- did you feel this pressure in Berlin, in Germany, that somehow not that you needed directly to start that, but you have to be fast in learning it?
Mm, you know, there were some times when you really cannot play the sneaky way. You seriously have to do something in Germany. Like, for example, I don't know, I think the first experience that I really had to deal with something on the place was the post office and mail and deliveries and so on. And then you really have to put yourself out there and just do things on your own. So there was some kind of pressure, right? Like to speak the language, or for example, when this loneliness hit me for the first time, I knew that okay, I felt this kind of internal pressure to go out and meet somebody because okay, there were some people at work, I had some colleagues, but work is not all my life. I also want to have different contacts, different friendships. And all my friendships at the beginning were just over the phone calls with my friends from Poland. So this is the type of pressure that I would name that it's not about somebody else was pressuring me, but the situation was pressuring to take some action to maybe this kind of like a buzzword, get out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
how I would describe it.
Yeah. So the let's say the social part, and I think the downside of the social part that nobody or maybe someone that didn't went through this is not able to understand is when you're somehow relying for the work colleagues to have your friends, like you can hardly find different topics that you can have together except the work itself. And even if
Yeah,
you're
the
in
conversation always like usually goes down to shop like immediately. So yeah.
absolutely. So you start even if you start with one hobby that you have together, or maybe you have one topic that you have together, you always end up getting to work because it's easy. Like it's easy. And what I learned, and I want to ask you about this because I had let's say one of the big cultural shocks for me. So I always had the feeling in Romania that awkward silence is not okay. I'm giving you an example. I'm driving in a car with a colleague, and I think for 4 hours, um, and I always need to fill in the silence. And I realized that in the German culture, at least, awkward silence is okay. I'm just saying awkward, but silence is okay.
Uh-huh.
And this was for me so hard to accept at the beginning because I couldn't cope with this. Did you had something like this impactful at the beginning?
You mean in terms of the cultural difference that I found? Let me think for a bit. In terms of social interactions, this I would say I rather saw similarities between Poland and Germany than differences, but I can give you a lot of examples with Portugal.
Okay, okay.
Yes, because like this was complete game changer for me in terms of social interactions. Like this was, I come from the place, and it's also my background, my education, that I'm super task oriented person. Like if I have a lunch, I have a lunch, right? Like I eat my lunch, like if I work, especially, my lunch can even take 15 minutes. Like I'm just eating my food and then I'm moving on to with other things. While in Portugal, this is an experience and it's a social event, you know. So people are going out for lunch very often and they don't spend an hour and a half. It's like average. If it's two, then it's even better, I would say. And it's not only about eating, it's about talking. And it is okay to, for example, wait in front of the restaurant for some time. Mm, on one social event, the first time when we went to a Portuguese wedding, we after the church ceremony, we moved to the venue, and in front of the venue there were some cocktails, some snacks, and we were just hanging out, eating, drinking, and mostly talking. And I was standing there and asking my boyfriend, so when are we going to move inside and eat lunch? Like, why are we standing here exactly? And he's like, what do you want? Like, it's nice. We are talking. Like, I'm like, I'm hungry. Eat a snack. Yeah, people take time. They can just comment on things, on football, they can comment on weather and so on. While I'm in the conversation, I'm like, what are you doing for the living and how do you like it? So I'm like very, to the point. While in Portugal, people just go about their lives very easily. So that is something that I feel different.
I think that one of the so I was lucky enough due to my job to travel quite a lot in Europe, and I had actually a team in Portugal for a while, and it was somewhere around Porto,
Huh?
and I was quite often there. What I found interesting, and I have to say that I'm not living there, but still, it was the eating experience was from a different world. So
Yeah,
we went to lunch from work. First of all, the price of food there, it's I don't know how they make profit.
it's good.
That's
Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
exactly. Um, but the second thing, there was wine at lunch.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
firstly got, oh, okay. And the colleagues were
It was a
like,
work lunch, right? It was a work.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely no difference.
yeah.
Absolutely zero difference. And I was, okay, okay. I mean, if that's the. And what I found very interesting, and I don't know if it was the same for you at the beginning, but the dinner time.
A very strict dinner time.
Exactly, but so late.
Yes, yes.
Like we went to at 8. I said, okay, I'm taking an early dinner, then I'm going to sleep because I was tired, and I couldn't find any place open at 8 that can take dinner, where
Yeah.
I could eat dinner.
Yeah, that is true. So I also have a funny story about that because the one of the first times I visited my boyfriend in Portugal, because like first chapter of our relationship was to visit each other. So we were flying Poland, Portugal, Berlin, like all sorts of configurations. And when I arrived to Leiria, to the city where I currently live, it was around like 5, 6 p.m. and I was very hungry. And I'm like, is there any place that we can eat? And Saul says like, no, everything starts to open at 8. It starts. So I was like, okay, let me just take a banana and eat it, and I will wait till the place is open.
Speaking about the prices of food, how do you find the cost of living? First of all, in Germany compared with Poland, and after that, if you can tell me also Portugal related to Germany, but somehow adapted to the salary, because I think also the salary situation is quite different in
Yes,
all three
it is.
countries.
And you know, this is a topic that I still completely didn't figure out because I don't know, somehow it's not fitting in my mind a bit how just the country and a bit of like location, whether it's a big city or smaller, can drastically change your income and also the amount that you are spending on things, even with the same products in shop, like same kind of products, because like in the restaurant you might argue like about the quality and so on, but even for the products and or things like simply renting an apartment, and I think this is a still a very big portion of spendings for an average person that just works in a normal job. So why I actually started to look for job abroad was because of the money. It was very simple that in the countries more far west from Poland, you get better salary. So that was my main motivation, and also like I was super curious about this expat life, so I also wanted to do that. So to me, like I think it's pretty obvious that many people they migrate and they even send their salary back to the country where they come from. And between Poland and Germany, the difference can be. I'm just giving you some rough estimates as I see it. It can be maybe like 1.5. You can get more 1.5 of this what you have in Poland, and I'm talking capitals now, like Berlin versus Warsaw. While this is still like it's a nice difference, it's not so like enormous. Like you can compare, for example, I don't know, Berlin in Europe versus some other countries outside of Europe, like South America or Asia. The people that I knew from my job were, for example, from these directions. And then it was a funny story again because like my head was working in a very simple way in terms of the finances and different economies. I was not so much into checking the economy of Spain or Portugal because I was never so much interested in Portugal finances and so on. So I've always thought somehow that everything on the west from Poland is gonna be more rich than Poland. When I arrived to Portugal and we started to have these conversations with my boyfriend about the economies of our countries, it actually, I realized that Poland and Portugal are very similar economies. Even though the currency is different in Portugal, there is euro, but the GDP and the purchasing power of people, it is very similar. So also, I see this trend that in big cities, big European cities, the prices of rent, of buying a flat, are so enormously high that an average person with the average salary uh, cannot even afford it in many cases. Also, that is why average age of Portuguese people moving out of the parents' house is around 30 years old.
Okay.
Yes, so the housing situation, I think it is simply bad in all of these places, Poland, Germany, and Portugal.
What I know, so I had the same impression as you, to be honest, and I think it could be a kind of a, let's say, shared ignorance of the Eastern European, because you think everyone is richer than you on the west side,
Yeah,
so it has to be
yeah,
better for sure.
yeah,
Let's just go,
yeah.
and it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the case. Um, but the so what I realized as well is that at least in Portugal, the cost of living in Lisbon compared to anywhere else in Portugal, it's unbelievably crazy.
Oh
So
yes.
the and I have, as I said, I had also some guys that in my team, but also some colleagues from there, and told me, man, to get an apartment, to get somewhere like when you have 2 kids or 3 kids, and you really have need something which is a bit big, you need a fortune for it. So you can forget about it. To
It is
rent
because
it,
Lisbon is super international. Like Lisbon is the place for people from many continents. Like I think it became so popular and it's so attractive as a destination, also because of the amazing weather and the culture there. It's very attractive. So that is why I think it becomes unaffordable for the local people who live there to have a life like a decent, a good quality life. But yes, it is the capital, and everywhere else, I think situation is way better. And I'm happy actually that I live in a smaller place. Leiria is a city that has 60,000 citizens, I believe. So it's like it's cozy, I would say, way different than Berlin or Warsaw.
the situation, this difference in income versus cost of living, it's something which is currently since I think 2 or 3 years a huge topic in Switzerland as well, because everybody's complaining that was initially born and raised in Switzerland, that due to the fact that now all the rich people are moving to Switzerland, the cost of living and of the apartments is exploding, but the income is not going in the same with the same rhythm going up, because the um, let's say the money is artificially pumped in the country from outside, and that's a
Still,
topic
Switzerland is like a country for many people, like their country to go and make money, I
for
would
sure.
say.
For sure, because if you take the, let's say, the salaries for the normal jobs are big in comparison to the salaries in Germany, but the cost of living is also big. So
Yes, that is why I know some Germans who live close on the border with Switzerland. They have jobs in Switzerland, and they every day
they
they come
commute.
back to
Yeah, they
Germany.
commute.
Yes.
I was, I think I was for 2 years, 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago in Zurich, in the Christmas market, the famous Christmas markets in Germany. And I was with my son, and he wanted a crepe. And usually back then in Germany it was 2 3 euro per crepe, and I paid 13 euros or something like this in Zurich. So I said, okay, that's hard, I have to say.
Yeah.
Um, talking about food, and you mentioning already pastel di nata, which is amazing, by the way. I have to say, I know it and I love it.
My first
Um,
months in Portugal, when I moved there, every day I had one every day.
it's bad. It's bad to get something like that in your life is bad. It's because you cannot get rid of it. I mean, there is no option.
Yeah.
uh, do you have something? So first thing first, do you have something from Germany that sparked your taste? Something from food, like I mean.
Oh, I think Berlin on that matter, it is very specific because I think I've only been to a typical German restaurant once, and it was not in Berlin, it was in Dresden.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so this was like just a one-time experience, and I found it quite similar to typical Polish meals. Also, it's
Mm-hmm.
like East Germany, so I think
Mm-hmm.
it overlaps a bit. And in terms of the food in Berlin, the good part about it is that you can have freaking anything you want because you have people from so many countries and they open their own places there. So you can experience really good food from people who are from the place that like they bring their own recipes and they bring their own quality, and I liked it a lot. I think also Berlin is a good place for vegans because you have many vegan cafes and restaurants on the complete the opposite to what you have in Portugal, where the traditional food is a lot about meat and fish. And I think that vegan places probably are more common in Lisbon, obviously. But even in Porto, it is not so popular, as I was checking.
Do you think it has a bit to do with the level of income?
Mm,
I mean that people with a higher income are more picky and can afford to have different kind of options in eating, and people with lower income say, okay, we have meat and we try to make it as long as possible.
Uh, I would say that to me, instead of income, I would look into more like who are the clients and who are these people and what do they want. Because if you look at the structure of who lives in Portugal, you have the Portuguese, you also have people from Brazil. And their food is also not like
Meat,
vegan. Yes, they
meat.
also have like these barbecues that are really good and so on. So that is why on every corner, whenever I was like visiting other cities in Portugal or in mine, you have the churrasqueira, that is the grilled meat place, while I do not see the same demand for it in Germany, for example. So I think the type of crowd also inspires what places to open. And if there is like more rich people in Berlin, for sure there is, for sure. So also they might be picky. They also might be a bit, I don't know, more conscious about like what do they want to eat and so on. So yes, I see a bit of this kind of connection now that we speak.
Do you have something that you miss from Poland?
People, definitely.
I meant food. I meant food.
I'm not very picky person. Uh, I had to find my ways with some things. Like for example, it was very different for me how is the coffee in Portugal versus in Poland and
Really
Germany.
good. It's really good in
The
Portugal.
coffee is
It's
good,
really good. It's
and
really good.
I got used to drink more black coffee now, like just the cafe that is like you ask a cafe and they know already it's espresso single and that's it, simple. But I really like to drink cappuccino as well, and this kind of like Italian style that is like no sugar, it is just milk and it is nicely foamed and so on. So first time when I asked cappuccino in Portugal, the lady had this instant thingy that is a cappuccino, and she made me this, and she put a whipped cream on top of that, and she sparkled some cacao on top, and she served me this, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I order?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the coffee is amazing in Portugal. I'm a huge coffee addict. I love coffee and I drink it the whole day. But I have to check the let's say the portions in Portugal because being so strong, like being getting used to the coffee in Germany, which is we just call it Sockensuppe. Um, so, uh, and after 4 or 5 espressos in Portugal, I said, okay, well, this is really good and strong. So let's
Yeah.
say it like this. Um, but now we go back to the thing because I find it interesting. You said you are missing people.
Yeah.
How so? Of course, you had a shortcut in Portugal due to the fact that you went there with your fiance, and I do suppose that his let's say his people communities around him, so family, friends, and so on. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying you had kind of a shortcut. But how do you find the acceptance from the people for you? Like, do you think it would have been easier for you to get social in Portugal that you were in Berlin? That was in Berlin?
Mm, no, not necessarily. I see it in a similar way that usually what connection is easier to make is the expat with other expats, because those are people who seek contacts, and even as adults, they are still open to meet new friends. While people who are native, they have their network already established. They don't have same level of need of meeting new people for sure. And now we are talking, of course, about adults, right? Because it's way different when you are even like student on the university times and you are just open to all these social connections. But when you are past this phase, I think it is really hard to find somebody that you like, you have same views on the world, because people, I think, tend to be, I don't want to say closed-minded, but maybe well established in terms of what they want in life, what are their values also. They are less about exploring and more about like already pursuing the path that they chose. So I think my strategy always was to, as an expat, to connect with other expats. But even recently, I read this post on the Facebook group of girl from Lisbon that was complaining about the same thing that I was experiencing. You're an expat, you're making new friends, and you are so happy about it. And then this friend is telling you, you know what, I'm moving out. People come and go, and it is natural because it's this type of people who are a bit of explorers, who are more curious, more also brave to change your place of living. So I happened to have that many times. The girl from France, met her in Germany. She moved out to LA. A girl from India moved out to Vietnam. So like the it is sometimes hard because you build some form of attachment and this kind of relation, and then the person disappears from your place. And I think it is same in Portugal. I'm also on part of many of these groups where I see people experiences. And what is even more interesting is that people really search for the same nationality people in the expat country. And um, I even saw some criticism about it. Some people were saying, if you go somewhere abroad, you should adapt, you should embrace the local culture and so on. But I do understand why do they do that. I do understand that, for example, I miss speaking in Polish, and I want to meet someone who also speaks Polish, and we can just have a conversation in the mother tongue. It is way different. So I think it's pretty natural. Also in Portugal, there is super strong Brazilian community, and they do stick together with other Brazilians. I think it's natural that people do that.
Absolutely. I think there are two different parts of this topic, Laura, and I think there are on one side there are the temporary workers that don't want to be involved in any of the local habits, and I think these are also the persons who are saying how shitty it is to live abroad, how unbelievably ugly it is to be there, and there are people like us who are there for long times and you want to find your way in, but it's like you said, like when you find someone that is speaking the same language as you, it's like you seeing God for the second time on earth. So uh, Jesus, it's here, and then I get to share three words in Romanian. I'm extremely happy.
Yeah, because it's something familiar, something you were born, raised with. So this familiarity, it also feels like safety. So I would not, discard that and say that you have to. Of course, I think you should be respectful to the culture that you arrive to, uh, but also it's natural to seek for this comfort of your origin.
And I think learning the language, and at least this is what I think, even though it was hard for me at the beginning as well, I think learning the language is part of that respect that you have to give to the culture that you came in. Because not being able to speak the language is the first thing that stops you from understanding the culture. Um, as much as you try, it has its limitations, or any other foreign language. Um, I have a particularity, and it I think it didn't happen now in a long time, but at the beginning, when I was feeling close to someone in Germany, I had the impulse to speak Romanian with him.
Okay.
Haven't you had this?
And this type of like a shortcut in your brain that happens. You see, I think I am a very composed person that thinks even twice before I say something.
Okay.
So this didn't happen to me much. However, my fiance, he's like no filter person. Like he's extremely direct and honest and open. So it happened to him many times that he started to speak to me in Portuguese because he just simply forgot that we speak English. So yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Um, I think the and I'm coming a bit to what you said before about the way people are, and I think the way of, at least how I met the Portuguese colleagues, they were more extrovert than that anyone else that I've seen until now. Their happiness, and especially if you meet someone that has some Brazilian heritage behind him, is more open, more expressive,
And
more
loud.
loud,
Yes.
and also the people that I like hearing when they speak, because they have a special melody in their voice. I always say to our Portuguese colleagues that they forgot the vowels out of the language, so it's only an powerful interjection all the time. So I don't know where they leave the vowels, but they are not there. And when you hear a Brazilian guy speaking like loud and expressive and speaking with his hands a lot, and it's a pleasure to see them speaking. But I like this extrovert way of being. And I heard a nice quote in the last time that maybe the big difference between Germany, at least, and Eastern Europe, most probably, as much as I met it, and Western Europe, is that Germany and Eastern Europe, that we are living to work. And
Hmm.
if you go in Spain, Portugal, Italy as well, they are only working so that they can live. Do you have the feeling that they have a respect for work, but they don't give everything for work like you have it in Germany or in Eastern Europe as well?
Yeah, I do. I think that Portuguese care a lot about family, for example, that they spend a lot of time with family, and you can just observe that on a daily basis that they like to spend their time within the family, that kids are everywhere. They take their kids with them, even to the restaurant on these late hours. How surprised I was when it was already 10, 11 p.m. and we were finishing on the dinner, and I saw these kids just playing, playing around in the place, and all everybody was like including them. So uh, they definitely care more about family than they care about financial success or career, for that matter. We were even joking with my fiance that there are no big names in Portugal in terms of discoveries or scientific research or Nobel Prizes or this type of things, because they have good weather and they just want to enjoy life. So I don't know, even making music, like if you like to listen pop music or electronic music, like Germany or Nordic countries, or like the UK, obviously, like UK is the place to produce music, because there is bad weather there, and you have to do something, right? Well, in Portugal, you can just enjoy every day. There is at least few minutes with the sun. I haven't spent a day when, or like few days in a row where I would not see the sun. While in Poland or Germany, it is typical in winter.
Today's sun after 2 weeks. It's depressive. It's
Yeah,
depressive.
the sun.
No, no, the weather.
Yes.
No, the sun it's a miracle, but the cloudy days are depressive. Are just yeah. But I know what you mean. Um, and I think that's the huge difference. Is there something from this from the culture that you picked up from Portugal? Like, is there a habit that you didn't have before, and you started having it now?
I adapted. I adapted a lot. I wake up later. I go to sleep later. I have my long lunches too. Even though sometimes I do eat in 10 minutes, but the rest are like an hour and 20. I'm just enjoying. So I think I did pick up things, and also, like, you see, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot as a person when I'm in Portugal, because from my nature, I'm very organized. I like plans. I like to know what's gonna happen. I like to be prepared. While I see that the culture here, even in terms of driving a car, it is more freestyle, it's more spontaneous, it's more like, even you see, this social part is also very good. I feel very kind of welcomed. Even on the street, pedestrians are communicating visually by gestures with the people in the cars, and it is normal. While in Poland, you only like communicate something to a driver who is stopping, especially for you before the pedestrian crossing. Then you kind of can say like this, thank you, and that is it. While in Portugal, it's normal to stop the car with your hand because you want to pass. Like, it's yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
That's
For
funny.
example, you are not crossing on a pedestrian crossing, right? And there is a car coming, and you see that you are not gonna make it. Like the car could hit you, right? So you just do this, and then he's stopping.
This is cool. I have to say, this is cool.
So my boyfriend was doing it, and I was like, having a heart attack, and I was like, should I go or should I stay? Like, what to do? Because, like, will it work or will he hit me?
Um, yeah. So I think it's again something to do with the way they are. They are relaxed. Nobody's. I saw it also in traffic. Nobody's angry. Everyone is relaxed. Everyone is driving freestyle, but nobody's. Everyone's cutting the way of everyone, but everyone is relaxed about that. So there is no pressure.
Yeah.
Um, have you got any of the let's say local habits, but I mean not as a habit itself, because this is more let's say something that you didn't realize, so something like an expression that you heard in Portuguese that you like, and you find yourself using it out of the sudden.
You, do you mean the swear words?
Yeah.
Apart from the swear words that are like I discovered, we had this conversation obviously in my couple, that Polish people have way bigger vocabulary for the swear words than in Portugal. In Portugal, it's very simple. You are raising your hand. Why?
Because in Romania it's the same.
You also have a
Oh
very
my god.
broad
Oh my god.
vocabulary. Yes. And I don't know even like how do I feel about it, but it was interesting difference to compare. But like the particular words that I picked up, I think no, the like I started very simple. My first lessons were like shop and restaurant. This I practiced, and I have it like perfectly now trained. The other level was the deliveries, and first it was like the courier calling you, where are you? Are you at home? And so on. Then the next level would be to call, where is my package? This is already like, I'm still in progress of learning that. But it's going. And also I did it different this time because with German I went for the classes. While in Portugal, I do it on my own with my boyfriend. He's just telling me some words. I have my own notebook. I'm not pressuring myself
Mm-hmm.
to master the language like at some point. And I find this approach also much more relaxed. And with giving myself the time and the patience that it's gonna come for sure. It doesn't have to be right now.
Correct. Correct. That's nice. As long as you don't have the pressure and you can learn it in your own way. It's the most amazing thing that you can have.
And you see, I'm also a psychologist and I do have expats on my consultations. And I think that this thing with the pressure that you also mentioned earlier, people really feel pressure, like some internal pressure to have everything figured out fast. And I think especially when you are in this new environment for you, giving yourself the patience, the grace, like this kind of celebrating even small victories. Like I was able to go to the hairdresser and tell everything by myself and get the haircut I wanted. Like even these small victories, you should celebrate.
Do you think that the pressure is actually an internal pressure? Is not, it's like a it's not something that someone is expecting for you. It's more like what would you like to do? How that would you like to be faster than you actually are? Do you think it's something that it's coming from inside of yourself?
I think it's for particular type of people that have it already from the childhood and the way how they were raised. But what I also experience when I'm in contact with the expats is that usually people who go abroad, for example, for work, are people who are very ambitious. And sometimes you might even call them that they are kind of overachieving. They are very perfectionists in a way. So for this type of people, if you already have this character traits, you will also have this internal, need to, for example, to go out and make connections or to have yourself set up in a good way, like in the first few weeks. So I think it is connected.
Somehow the need of confirmation that we take from childhood, let's say it like this. But that's a really good point. Um, what is something that people should know about Portugal that no do you think no it's not so well known? Or what was a huge surprise for you?
The winters. I think that winters are something that people don't realize. How is the climate there? That it is humid, and that if you are from, um, I don't know, Eastern Europe country or Germany or other place, like you might expect that there is some heating system in your house, while in fact there is not. And some days in winter can be even cold. You might even have few degrees, like the temperature can drop until 0 at night, and the apartments are badly isolated and they don't have heaters. Sometimes you can get air conditioning, or maybe sometimes you can get a fireplace. But it's very typical that you don't have the heating system, and you have to be prepared for that. In my boyfriend's apartment, the temperature over winter was lower than I had in my places in Poland or Germany, because I would, turn the heater on even on the maximum, because I like to be on a t-shirt in my place. While in Portugal, he would just wear a sweater and just walk around in the house on the sweater. And I was like, why is it so cold? Like, how are we going to heat up this place? So yes, I think this is something that people don't realize because the stereotype is, and I think many people also visit Portugal around the warm months, while if you look at December, January, these are the coldest months when really it can get cold and it can be unpleasant.
Okay, so this with not being heated, it's quite an interesting topic, I have to say. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's not only, it's not only our flat, it is all the houses that are built, the type of buildings, the type of windows they have. They don't have triple isolated windows. It is just like a thin window, like maybe two types of glass, and they are very thin. You can tell, you can feel how the air is flowing.
Okay, that's a really interesting fact. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Did you experience already holidays in Portugal?
You mean like vacations?
Like no, I mean Christmas. Christmas, like the normal winter holidays that we call it in Eastern Europe, winter holidays.
Okay. So my dog experienced, but I didn't because on the past holidays I went to Poland to see my family and I left my dog with my fiance.
I have to say that was a good one. That's nice. Okay, because I want to ask you how the Christmas without snow is looking like because we mostly know Christmas with snow, not in the last years, unfortunately,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
um, but I do remember the winters as I was a child, and it was snow everywhere, and I never can imagine, or I couldn't imagine until now how the Christmas looked like without snow. But
Yeah, that is true. It's way more magical with snow, but I think Portuguese people are making very big efforts to make it magical, and they have so many Christmas lights. They also have their own Christmas markets, which is a bit of a fun to me because I saw some of these Christmas markets in Germany and also in Poland. We have them. We have our own traditions and things like like the mulled wine with spices or some special things to eat. While on the Portuguese Christmas market, you will have a lot of barbecue, obviously, and you will have, cold drinks like wine and this ginja, the typical liquor they have, very sweet, sold in the tiny chocolate cups. Um, so it is, I think the only good hot drink I had so far there was a hot chocolate that they actually have.
and
And
the cappuccino from the
oh,
from the pre.
yeah, that one I haven't ordered anymore. Yeah, I found my other ways. So they are trying to make it really cozy and really nice. And they have this saying "Boas festas," and everybody's they are good at celebrating. So the lack of snow is not really a problem.
What is I don't know, maybe you know from your fiance's stories, but what is how are they celebrating Christmas holiday? Is the same that we know?
Yeah, similar. They have dinner on the Christmas Eve. There is fish. In their case, it is codfish. In Portugal, there is always codfish. Then on the Christmas day, they also meet over for lunch. Uh, in Poland, there is like one more Christmas day. It is 25th of December and 26th. In Portugal, 26th is already a normal day. They don't have this day as a holiday. Even it's like you have to go back to work if you don't take the day off.
Yeah, okay, that's strange. That's
Yeah, so
strange.
it's shorter. And they gather around. In the family of my boyfriend, they don't sing carols. In my family, it's like a very traditional thing, and it's our also our family tradition that we do sing a lot. Um, and they are also like both me and my fiance, we come from the same religion background. We are both Catholic, so also the way how the family spends Christmas is this similar.
Okay. The the way, so the 26th is really a surprise because I was also surprised in Germany that the 2nd of January is not a free day, so it's a normal working day. The 2nd of January.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew it, but
Well, in Poland, it's also normal working day. In Portugal too.
Romania not. That's
Okay.
strange. Yeah, okay, that
This
means
is a
we are
surprise to
lazier.
me.
Yeah, okay. Now so Romania has 1st and 2nd of January and like 25th and 26th of December as well.
All right. Why the 2nd January is also off, you know?
Most probably we drink a lot during the New Year's Eve and we have to recover longer. I have no real
And
explanation.
yes, and here we go back to the topic of drinking the alcohol. And I think also the way of drinking in Eastern Europe, it's like really drinking hard, while Portuguese can drink wine over lunch, but they are not gonna, empty entire bottle by one person, right? It is just a glass, for example.
This is something that I actually want to ask because I know the way of drinking in Romania. In Romania, most of people are drinking only to get wasted. So
Mm.
the main reason is to get yourself wasted, and that's it. It's nothing that it's I would say enjoyable, or at least this was always my feeling. I made the experience of Germany, and Germany I would say it's a mix of both. So there is a small part at the beginning which is enjoyable, but after that,
It's wasting.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
How is the experience in Portugal?
Way different, way different. And you can even tell that by the size of the beer bottles they have. Do you know that the typical beer brands, they have two that are the most popular, depends whether you are more kind of on the north or more on the south. And the sizes, like I asked this question to my boyfriend when we started dating. It was like just a random question, like how many beers you need to drink to get drunk? And he's telling me, I don't know, like 10. And I'm like, what? And then,
Profi.
yeah, and then I realized they have sizes starting from 0.25, and then you have 0.33, then you have half a liter, but nobody's drinking half a liter. They are buying these 0.3 or 0.25. So then, then it made sense, the 10 beers, right? Because they are so small. So definitely the drinking is to enjoy. You don't drink to get wasted, because also that is another cultural thing that I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I do know how I feel about it, and I feel that it is wrong simply. But I see Portuguese people, friends of my fiance, also we have conversations about it also with my fiance, how much you can drink and still drive. Because even if you look at the legal limits, Portugal has quite a high limit. I think it is 0.025. Uh, I'm not so good to tell you like right now, are those like percentiles or premiums or something like
Mil,
this.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
percentage.
yeah, yeah. So yes, so they sometimes drink alcohol and then get to the car. So it's better that they drink actually less, not get wasted.
I think in Germany as well, I think you have a 0.05. I don't know if it's zero 0.5 or 0.05, something like this. So let's say the popular opinion is that you can have two beers and then drive.
So I know that in Portugal the limit is more kind of like liberal,
Hmm.
um, and I cannot tell you by the number, but I was checking the data and I saw it is more liberal than Germany and Poland.
Hmm. Okay. That's interesting. I mean, again, it fits with the mentality, right? So enjoying life at the end, that's something that it's like you say, we don't know what to think about this because we were not we were not used to this from our cultures, at
Yes,
least.
and also, this is something that I will never pick up from this culture, because I have a rule, my personal rule, that I never get into the car as a driver if I drunk, and that is fine. The culture can be that they have some permission, but this is my own rule that I'm gonna apply for myself.
Absolutely, and I'm fully with you. I'm always doing the same. I have several discussions with the colleagues when we meet after work or something, or when we meet with the work colleagues, and they say, "Okay, but you can have a beer," and I just say, I don't feel like I'm the same person after I have the same reflexes. I have the same possibility to react if something is happening when I'm not as am I when I'm sober. So I'm fully with you. At the end, the law can say, but in general, there is a trick in the law because even though you are allowed to drink and drive, if you make an accident, the insurance is not paying for the damage that you made.
Yeah,
So at the end, it's a kind of a halfway legally, if you ask me. But yeah, everyone have to make their life decisions at the end.
totally.
Um, I think I think you had a huge impact in your private life due to the move, and also because you yeah, let's say you fall, like you said, you follow love towards Portugal. Um, but how did your perspective of life changed um, through to this through these expat experiences? How did you how did you learn to do things? How did it change you?
The expat experience, I think it changed me in a way that I became way more open-minded and got way more respect for difference, because it showed me that my own reality that I know is not the only one, and it's not the only, correct one. That there are people with many different lifestyles and cultures, and something that is, I don't know, so it's not necessarily that if I'm not familiar with something that this is, I don't know, is wrong or strange or something like that. And I think it made me more curious about people also. That I Now when I meet somebody new, I'm not assuming as much as I was assuming before.
There were a lot of prefabricated ideas in my head before starting the
Yeah,
experience, but and I think that's something that changed as well because at the end you are just assuming that if a person is coming from country X, he's dirty or he's stupid or I don't know, all these kind of prefabricated ideas are not there anymore. I'm not assuming anything. Like I'm and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm looking forward to meet more people and more cultures because I'm I went on the other side. I'm fascinated about cultures. I'm fascinated about how people can interact with each other, being from so different worlds and getting the common point to discuss and getting common things to do. And I think that's really impressive. Um, is there a way in which your relationship to your country changed through these expat experiences?
it definitely changed. Every time I come back, I feel strange, I would say, because um, I'm comparing a lot. I started to compare a lot. I think before that I didn't have the comparison and I was just taking everything as it was. And now I'm comparing more, and um, I see that Polish people could learn a lot from other cultures, as well as other cultures could learn a lot from Polish people. I'm not saying that, going out there, living abroad is for everybody. It definitely is not. But even, when you go out for some small travel for your holiday, I would say it is really nice to stay curious about what people live here. What country is this? What are the habits? I think this variety is something that all of us we can really benefit from, and we can really learn some good lessons for our life. And you never know, what will be helpful at some point in your life, what will come handy.
I heard a nice quote which I kind of use quite often, and it's somehow the fact that I don't belong there anymore, but I'm not 100% here as well. And I'm just asking the question: do you have that? Are you missing that I will not say the home place, but are you missing the fact that you are not 100% belonging there because you don't fit to everything what those people are thinking and how they are behaving?
Yes, it is a strange feeling, and I completely understand the quote that you said. I also have it, and I think that what I figured so far from all that is that it is very important to know and remember your origin, like to have this grounding somewhere. Even for the identity, I think it is important that okay, this is where I come from, but also in order to find this sense of belonging, because like you don't feel like you belong anymore here 100%, but also you feel a bit strange in the new country where you live. I think growing roots, it is also something that I am currently trying to do, because I know I already see my future in Portugal, and now I'm in this phase of really growing the roots, like seeing how can I fit here, how can I build my life here. And I'm doing this for myself because I noticed that when I was in Berlin, I lived more kind of like a temporary life. So I'm here for a while, I'm just working, I don't know how long I will stay here. And I think that this state of not knowing, of being just for some time, might also, use up more of your energy even, because it leaves you with some uncertainty that might be stressful. And the moment you make a decision, you you agree with yourself, like you are making this internal, like a resolution. Okay, I want to be here. It is a good place to me. This is also very important. It's a good place for me. Do I feel good here? Because I reached a point in Berlin when I was like, okay, I don't feel good here anymore, and I want to go back. I didn't go back because we know why. But now in Portugal, I asked myself the same questions. Do I feel good here? Do I want to stay here? And if the answer is yes, I think it's worth to make it happen so that you grow these roots, you become more kind of like you adapt, and you kind of like grow together with this new place that you are in.
The fact that I think I do fully agree with you. The fact that you have to decide for yourself if you are enjoying what's happening with you, despite of the financial reason that took you there, because at the end that was the main reason for everyone, or maybe a career path that you could take as well, but is also is always connected to the financial reason. And I think that this question that you have to ask yourself, is this the place where I want to build my roots? Is this the place where I want to raise my kids and so on? And that's when you are able to answer that questions honestly for yourself. I think that's a good moment in which you can say, okay, I'm here in the right place, and then you can start doing things.
Yes, completely. And I think also what's good is to reaching for your values and checking, like, is the place where I am right now matching my values and what I want to do in life? Because if your highest value in life is money, maybe you want to stay where you are because you want to make a lot of money. You want to, and the place where you are is good for that. But if it's for something else, you see, that's another thing. I would never imagine raising my kids, future kids, in Berlin. I already knew that when I arrived there. I saw this place for parties, for clubbing, amazing clubbing culture, getting to know people, art, all these, entertainment that you can have there, and education and all that. But this is not how I imagine my family life. That's why it was not matching.
Have did does your did your internal value system has, or the pyramid has changed during these experiences? Like something that was really high on your priorities went a bit down, or was there a change?
I think it didn't. I think the value system stayed the same, and maybe these experiences for the past 6 years of my life helped me to go back somehow to these values, to reflect more, or to like remember really what matters. So I would say the values were there. It was just that instead of listening to this inner voice, I would pick up on somebody else's voices, for example, and after some time, I knew that I have to go back to what's true to me.
I think that's one of the most important thing that you have when you are out of your influence group, because doing a change like this, you're going outside of your influence group, and then it's the first moment you realize, okay, who am I making happy now? Because I have
Yes.
no friends that I can make happy with my decisions. Of course, not on a conscious level, but on an unconscious level, you have this need of satisfying everyone around you with your decision. When you are alone, you think, okay, what is actually my priority now? And I think that's the most important. I think that's something that you can only find in this, let's say, in this loneliness. You can call
Yes.
it loneliness.
And funny that you are saying this because you see, the influence group. I think that my family and my friends, all of them, they always want me to succeed. I have people who really support me and they want me to succeed. And it was so strange when I realized that I moved to Berlin. I got very lonely and my life was not so great after all. And when I would talk to my friends from Poland, they perceived me as somebody who is successful, who is fulfilled, who has amazing life, like lifetime opportunities ahead of me, and so on. And these images, they were completely not matching. So this was like a hard shock for me that what people from the outside might expect, it is not how it looks like in reality. And I think that's also why um, people want to migrate, because again they have some expectation of a life, and the moment it becomes true, then you can only face how it is for real.
Correct. I've heard not for long ago a quote from Morgan Freeman, who said that don't try to fill in loneliness with poisonous people, because when you are thirsty, you also don't drink poison. Uh,
That is a very good quote, and it was also coming to me on the topic of addictions and of, you know, like filling the void, because some of my friends that are expats, I also observed that they had troubles and uh, they started to abuse on alcohol, for example, drinking alone, a lot of alcohol, and I completely understand why it was happening. It's because of the loneliness that you might face.
and this is one thing, and there is another thing which is for me. I see it also, let's say, in the group of my friends that I met when I go to Romania. This need of showing off there that you have an amazing life here. This need of people seeing you that you are actually enjoying life. It's like I'm the king.
But you see, that's because like there are people that, and I think it's pretty natural that we want to make impression on others.
Hmm.
We want to make impression. So
Status,
yes,
status.
so even though it might suck back there when you live, when you go back to your home, you want to show, you know, for your parents, you want to show that everything is okay because you don't want them to worry about you. For your friends, you want to show that you have a great life because, I don't know, maybe you want to impress them. And I think it is, you know, it is very natural that people do these things. The question I would ask myself is like, why am I doing this? And is this supporting me? That, like, how this supports me that I'm going out there to going back to home country and pretend when in reality I'm facing so much stress, so much loneliness, so much, you know, shit.
You are avoiding the most important person in the room, you, by doing that, and you are avoiding or you are forbidding the happiness of that person. At least is my opinion. Um, what's a piece of advice that you would give to someone that would do a similar move?
Ask yourself, why do you really want to go there? And like seriously ask yourself why. I think it's very important to know your reasons behind such a big decision. And every time you're in doubt, you are already there, you arrived, something's not going well, then you can bring back this reason. I'm doing this because, and if this still keeps you going, that's good, keep going. If this is no longer valid, it is too much, it is too overwhelming, don't be afraid also to go back to say, okay, it didn't work out, that is fine. The world is not ending.
Correct. The culture of making a mistake, it's something that I think these worlds need a lot to people to come out to say, okay, I took a wrong way, I took a wrong turn, I realized it's a wrong turn, and I'm able to switch back.
Yeah.
Um, have the distance between you and your family made the relationship better with your family, or do you think the relationship got colder?
That is interesting question, because I have a hypothesis that all the expats are moving far from their family, and there is a bit of reason in it. Of course, there are like you have many different families, and you have the different family dynamics and setups and so on, right? Some family can be like very close together, but some people might find it too close, for example, and they want to separate. Somebody wants to just, I don't know, erase the family of origin, and they want to, I don't know, start fresh. So I actually think that despite other reasons you might have, like a good job, or maybe you met someone, or maybe you want to learn something, the family setting, it is still there. And I think it plays a role in your life decisions, because if you are feeling very great around your family, you don't want to go lose them and go to another country. So I see it as a very big point in all of that, and also because of my own profession, that I believe that family is crucial for basically all your development, and your adult life is pretty much a consequence of what you lived in the childhood. So I would say my personal relationship with the family, it improved because I am actively working on it, and it's here not much about the place where I live, but I think in my adult life, there is this phase when a child leaves the parents' house, and then the parents are left with this kind of emptiness, and then the adult child already needs to figure out his or her life as adult. And I think it took me very long time, to cut the
The
how you
umbilical
yes,
cord.
exactly, this thing. I think that I worked on it very hard, and also with the external help, how to, establish a relationship with my parents as a grown up, not being this little child anymore, as they would want me to see probably for all their life. And I think the distance part in it, I think it definitely played a role, and it would look way more different when I would be still in Poland. It looked different now. Um, so yes, so like the setup is definitely now changed, and we don't see each other so often. But also in terms of how you can contact your family, it's like we have phones. It's like super easy to keep this contact. The question I would ask here, like, what's the quality of this contact? Like, yeah,
Correct, correct. Absolutely agree. And I think I do fully agree with you that our way of behaving with ourselves, with the others, it's fully related to the childhood, to the trauma, or to the happiness, or through the events that we have passed or lived in our childhood. And I think um, you can see in a lot of people a powerful need of confirmation, and the only place that can come from is from the childhood.
yeah, of course. And you see, like, even if somebody moved to a different country and it feels better with having bigger distance from the family. I am not saying that there is something wrong with it or something like that, right? Because at the end of the day, when you are a grown up, you have to really find something that works for you, whatever that is.
Exactly. When when was the moment that you realized you are a grown up?
Oh, that is an interesting question. I realized that I'm a grown up. I think it was in my first job. It was my first job, and I was 25 years old. And sometime after, I think a few years after, I learned that there is even a term of a uh, quarter life crisis or something like that. And I think I was going a little bit through that because I was already past the university. I was working. I was trying to do my best at work. I was trying to keep up with some hobbies, but it was tough because I had a very demanding work. And then I had this relationship life that was not going maybe so amazingly. And I woke up one day and I even asked my parents this question. So is that it? You know, you go to work, you do your groceries, like you go some on vacations, and is that it? And yeah, then I realized this adulthood sucks, basically. Uh, and slowly, very slowly, I started to do something about it, so that I don't see it anymore, that it sucks.
I think all of us have the feeling that this grown up thing is coming with a small midget in your head, a new midget in your head, and your thoughts are evolving to a different kind of level. And no, no,
Yeah,
it's the same you with different problems. It's
yeah.
absolutely no change about it. Um, what's what's the most surprising thing that you learn about yourself during these experiences outside of Poland?
Um, the most surprising thing that I learned about myself was that in many cases I had to be super tough, and that I was in um, such a setup that I was not even able to express how bad, isolated, lonely I feel, because I needed to like keep going. At least I thought so. And when finally I admitted at some point that it's not as colorful, it's not as pretty, when it all came out, like when I faced the emotions, that was a pretty big shock to me, what I was able to bear for the time. And I was still going through it. I was dealing with all the problems I had to deal with being as an expat.
Um, being honest with yourself. I think that's the hardest part in all these experiences, because you are afraid that maybe if I'm honest with myself, it will pull me down, but at the end is the moment when that will help you move on. You
Yeah.
said about hobbies, and I think an interesting question. Not considering the hobbies that you had when you left Poland, but have you pick up a new hobby since you switched countries?
Pick up a new hobby. Let me think. I think that my hobbies stayed the same. I was just struggling with finding my ways in the new place. How can I still do them? So with running, for example, or any kind of sports, I think that this is the most easy way you can do. So if your hobby is sports, then you are set in basically every country, except for Portugal, when I wanted to run a distance throughout the city, and then it turned out that in some places there are no sidewalks, and it is pretty dangerous even to just go there on foot. So there were some adjustments made so that it can happen. Um, but in other things, there is all this that if you are a person who has many indoor hobbies and you have things like, I don't know, musical instruments or it's some kind of like electronic setup and so on, uh, when you travel a lot, I sometimes felt like this kind of gypsy that was traveling with a lot of things because you want to carry all these hobbies with you. And like one of them is, for example, my dog. And my dog has been already to many countries with me because like I'm just taking him wherever I go. He went with me to Berlin. Now he's in Portugal. So at the end of the day, I'm carrying all my hobbies with me and I'm practicing them where I am.
Two reasons why I was laughing because first of all we have the same saying in Romania that you look like a gypsy. You have a lot of
Yeah,
luggage with you in different kind of packages, and second thing I absolutely know I love reading, and every time when I go in business trips or where we go to travel somewhere or we go on holiday, I I take 6 7 books with me. I never managed
yeah,
to finish any of them, but I just want to have my options open.
yeah. I totally get you. It was so hard for me to with the books actually because I decided, okay, I'm not going to take all of them because I was moving, like I needed to pack everything and so on. So I decided to take half, and I was really, like negotiating with myself which one to take, which one to leave. So yeah.
Um, Tell me, what do you think it was the funniest experience that you had in Berlin and then in Portugal, if you can remember two of them, or
uh,
also two. I'm open.
okay. The funniest. Uh,
Like maybe a lost in translation, something that you thought meant something. I can start. I have a funny story that somehow I feel cringe to say it, but
Tell me.
uh, I uh, I was working in an open office and not speaking the language, speaking English all the time. I was smoking back then, and every once in a while I was going for a cigarette. And it happened one day that a colleague of mine came and asked me if I want to go for a cigarette, and in the same time somebody was screaming "Pause!" I said, "Okay, crazy. They scream here like that, pause." And every day for a few weeks, when I keep hearing that guy screaming "Pause!" I went smoking because I thought, okay, since it's an official smoke break, nobody will complain. I realized after 2 weeks that I had a colleague whose name was Pause, and he was answering his phone. Every time that guy answered his phone, I went for a cigarette.
That is so strange. That is, yes, and it actually is cringy. Yes.
My experience. I mean, I had to do it. I had to say it. It was like this. So
Oh, okay. Now let me think about something that was cringy. Funny stories. You know what? Nothing particular comes to my mind, like that would be lost in translation or something.
that's fine. I mean, I, I, I I had a lot of time in which I was speaking English and a lot of things that I misunderstood. I thought in my head that I'm understanding more German that I was actually being able to understand, and most probably this pretending got me into a lot of messed up situation.
Oh, but actually, I do have a strategy that I picked up from one lady. One Polish lady told me this strategy in a train, and I tried it on myself, and I think it really works in terms of learning new language and or like orientation in these conversations in the foreign language. And it's very so when somebody's talking to you, all you have to do is, even if you don't understand what this person was telling, all you have to do is repeat the last word. Repeat the last word. And, it can be anything, but the moment you repeat the last word, they will either continue or, like the conversation will go. And at some point, you can find some words from the context and so on, and it's gonna keep going, like it will work. And recently somebody was asking me on the street, like passing by a car and opening the window, asking me where is some kind of place. I just repeated the name of the place. Then the guy started to explain, and then I simply said it in Portuguese. Now say I don't know, and then he went further. So like really repeat the last word and don't worry about anything else.
That's a good piece of advice. I'm going a bit further with this orientation thing. I'm such an asshole sometimes. When they ask me, okay, do you know where's that street? Of course. Second on the right and then second on the left. I misleaded so many people, because I felt
Oh
so
boy.
bad in telling them, no, I'm not from here. You know, that's always the excuse. I'm not from here. I felt so bad always do the same excuse. And then at one moment you realize, my wife was asking, did you know where's that? Literally no idea where's that, but yeah.
That's funny.
I have some questions that I would like to ask before we finish. Why would someone move to Portugal as an expat? And
Definitely.
don't say weather.
Oh, then you have to find a Portuguese and you have to move for the love.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Cool. Um,
Yes. Well,
Please.
not for the job, not for not for work, because I think the economy is not so great. Um, but if you want to live close with nature, and if you care about the like yes, simply the sun, and I know that it might sound as a cliche, but I do really have a comparison, and I am not going back. I am not going back.
I fully understand you. You don't have to tell me twice the reason. I absolutely know why.
Yeah.
uh, but I think it's always the question of or the difference between the places where people are taking that value. If they take the value from the work, then maybe Portugal is not the appropriate thing, or from the job. But if you like to take from your values from enjoyment of life, then it's the place to be for sure.
Definitely.
Where is home?
Portugal.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting married next year, so I'm like taking serious steps into
Co-
living there fully.
Congratulations, first of all. Um,
Thank you.
what does happiness look like for you?
Happiness is having my loved ones close to me and having time so that I can do with it what I want.
Nice. Um, would you be so kind to give us a movie recommendation, a book recommendation, and a song recommendation?
Movie, book, and song. Mm, let me see. Well, depends what you are looking for, but the book that changed my life, and I'm gonna recommend it to everyone, especially women actually, will be The Woman Who Ran with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. It's a book about tales, old tales that are told and interpreted by her in the book. So it has a lot to do also with Carl Jung psychology, the interpretation part especially. So that's something that is definitely life changing, and I recommend it. Mm, movie. So as we are in the Christmas time, I don't know if this is like a one precise movie recommendation, but I'm gonna tell you a story that I experienced still being in Berlin, being single, being lonely, and it was December and it was this Christmas time, and I had nothing much to do. So every evening I would just watch a Christmas romantic comedy. Every evening I would take some cookies or some tea and I would just watch a Christmas romantic comedy, and I would tell myself one day I'm gonna find this beautiful love as it is in these Christmas romantic comedies. And I really liked that time, and now I go back to these memories as something cute, something nice. I love these things, so that would be my movie recommendation, especially for the winter times. So that is the okay. So we have the book, we have the movie, and song.
Yes.
Okay, then instead of a song, I'm gonna recommend you an artist, and it's gonna be a girl that is Portuguese and that I fell in love with because her style is like she's very gentle, but she also uses electronic beats, but also she uses a lot of guitar, and her voice is also great. That's why I recommend her, and I listened to her recently, Maro, Maro.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation.
Interesting. I like the idea with the movies. I like the fact that movies can brighten up your day. Um,
Totally.
and one of my favorite quotes is that the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you. And there are much more bad things on this world, and this too shall pass. So,
Yeah.
um, Laura, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting me.
You are more than welcome. It was an absolutely enjoyable conversation. Um, I I'm appreciate the fact that I got to know you. I appreciate the fact that you were here to tell your stories. And thank you so much for this.
You're welcome, and thanks again for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and I hope I will get you as a viewer of the show when it will be up and running.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day,
You
evening. Bye
too.
bye.
Bye.